Hello, this talk is on Pakistan, total war, and the US. Um, what do we got ourselves into in Afghanistan? Well, we can say that we were in a tough war, but we didn't start this war. Al Qaeda started this war, and if we must remember back to 9/11 in September 2001, we've been in Afghanistan ever since, and now the war is spread to Pakistan, into Baluchistan and into the northwest provinces of the tribal area of Pakistan. This has been the base of Al Qaeda for a number of years now, and this is where they escaped to after Tora Bora with the help of the Pakistani ISI. Saudi Arabia and Pakistan have been the ones who have been backing Al Qaeda through several proxies such as the ISI for many years, and this goes all the way back to the Cold War and the fight against the Soviet Union. And this has never subsided in funding. If you take on board also Osama bin Laden is his own man funding his own war, he's got an annual income of $46 billion. So you could say that Al Qaeda has a massive amount of money and material and supplies coming in. They mostly use Soviet-based equipment, but they have access to Western equipment such as Stinger missiles. They built many different cave complexes, but unlike the lies that Donald Rumsfeld said about them being nuclear-proof bunkers and the rest of it, that didn't prove to be the case. They're much more primitive than that, but they were effective. Now, of course, as the Operation Anaconda started up after September the 11th, the Taliban were practically destroyed as a military force because they tried to fight the Americans directly. Now they're learning to fight the way that the Iraqis are, but they are still fighting a direct fire war. And this is particularly true against the Royal Marines and the Paras in the green zone of Helmand. Why have the British not deployed heavy armour in the green zone? Well, they're trying to cultivate it because they're trying to get people away from cash crops like opium and onto crops like maize and mint and tea, which can be exported and don't have that association with the drugs trade. So, but we're not burning and destroying the opium crops, rather it's a gradual process. And I think a lot of this is to stop alienation. As you see with in Vietnam, the Americans used DDT and other Agent Orange and other things which cause mutilating defects in birth defects, and this really stopped any trust between the people and the Americans. Now, what we're dealing with is two very different kinds of movements. We're dealing with an Islamic fundamentalist movement, which is Al Qaeda and Wahhabi Sunnis, who are affiliated with Al Qaeda, and that goes all the way back to the Saudi royal family. And also Pashtun nationalism, which is more a localised thing. Now, the question of this talk is, Michael Schur said that America is not doing enough to deal with its Al Qaeda problem. Robert Mayer, as I said in my other talk, disagrees and believes that Al Qaeda is gone away. I disagree with Robert Mayer. I think it's still a very potent force, so we mustn't let it get a breathing space. The problem is that the only power with the ability to bring massive amounts of manpower in to that area is the United States. The British have used a much more intelligent strategy of using special forces and winning over hearts and minds. Now, with the introduction of the new Afghanistan surge under Obama with 30,000 US troops, are we going to still see that? or is it going to become this war of annihilation like Vietnam became? But on the other hand, there's still the problem of Pakistan. Certainly, the CIA, whether they're doing it intentionally or not, is destabilising Pakistan by doing raids into there with drones. That's certainly the case. And there's also the case of Baluchistan nationalism, which is based around the Baluchistani capital of Quetta in Pakistan's southeast, where the CIA believe a lot of Taliban and Al Qaeda are based. But the problem is, of course, is that Pakistan has nuclear weapons, and we don't want those nuclear weapons getting into the hands of people like Al Qaeda. What would be necessary to take over Pakistan and also to invade Saudi Arabia? Now, I wasn't for the Iraq War, but I believe it's very necessary that we go after Pakistan and Saudi Arabia, because I believe those are the two main countries that backed Al Qaeda to do 9/11. And I think really, if we're dealing with a total war situation like Michael Shura says, then you need to bring back the draft. And that will mean that we would have to need an occupation force of 5 million troops to go into Pakistan. But there's another way that could be done. You could use the special forces and the smart way of doing things that the British have used, but on a much larger scale, and also get the Iranians involved in trying to stabilise Pakistan, because they hate Al Qaeda as well, and we need to build Iran up as a major proxy and see it as a major regional power. That can be, Pakistan is their backyard and the Middle East is their front yard, if you like. We can sort of divert Iran's aggression away from Israel, perhaps, towards dealing with a problem in Pakistan. Now, Pakistan and Iran are very different cultures, but they both speak Farsi, and there's some crossover there. So you could really use the Iranians' intelligence service, because they can speak Farsi. They've got far more Farsi speakers, being that that's Iran's main language, than we have, and we could supplement our force with their forces, and then try and stabilise Pakistan. The crux of it is that Iran sees Afghanistan as its backyard, and so does Pakistan, but they can't both have it, and so therefore we don't want the Taliban in, and so it's much more better for us to have an Iran and an India, which are close allies with the West, to contain Pakistan, an unstable Pakistan, which has become a basket case, and then get hold of Pakistan and get hold of Saudi Arabia and deal with those people, because those are the people who did help Al Qaeda do 9/11 in my view, because they have the ability to have access to our intelligence services data, and I think that's one of the reasons why the Operation Northern Vigilance, which was happening at the same time as 9/11, that was when Al Qaeda did their attack, because they knew that I really do believe they had agents inside the Western intelligence services, or they had some means of gaining intelligence, because that's really, I think, why they chose that particular day to do that strike, because they knew that the people would be confused between the drill that was going on and the actual attack. Leave some comments and get a discussion going, and I'm sorry I haven't done the talk for a little while, but been a bit busy. Alright, so all the best, see you now.